Hey, this is Yusuf Torapov again from Central Ireland with yet another obsessive video about Todd Field's screenplay for the remarkable film Tar, starring Kate Blanchett, which I believe is a watershed, a really remarkable moment in modern screenwriting. Um, I've taken a break from posting because I was working on my own screenplay, and I wanted to focus obsessively on that before I began obsessing again about this script. But I'm picking up from where I left off, and where we left this last time was I was talking about how the rather unique, not rather unique, but the unique opening of this film with three different introductions to the protagonist uh, does two things. Number one is it places us in this world where we don't imagine that we're going to get the answers. We have to accept that we're going to be confused in this film. Not things aren't going to be spoon fed. We're going to have to kind of listen without judgment, watch without judgment what we're seeing, and accept not being told what it means. This is, I think, a hallmark of the iceberg theory, which is what this is all about. Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory, as evidenced most notably in his short story Big 200 River. And I also said that he used that technique of opening the film with three different introductions to the protagonist to remind us that this is a character who defies easy summary. Um, it's not easy to say whether she's a good person or a bad person. It's not easy to say whether she's somehow, praiseworthy or deserving of our criticism and censure. She's a really complicated person, and she's making her way through life, and we have to make up our mind how we feel about her. Third thing I want to share about that, before I get into the next little chunk of the screenplay, is that those two elements taken together uh, approximate real life, and that's not an accident. We don't necessarily have a final judgment on whether people we meet are good or evil, and we don't get a user's guide to what something means, whether it's connected to the event beforehand, how we should interpret it. He said this script is not chaotic. It doesn't lack a spine. It doesn't lack a three-act structure. It is a clear piece of storytelling. However, it's only clear to the degree that you pay attention to it. And that attention often, from my experience, circulates through more than one viewing. And so the reason I mention this is that it leads a lot of people to wonder the verisimilitude of this technique, the approximation of real life, leads a lot of people to imagine when they see this film that it must be based on a real conductor. It's so skillful the way he does this and so powerful the way that he pulls this off that we find it difficult to believe that this could be a fictional uh, story, that it must be rooted in somebody's real experience. He must have based the story on someone. He didn't. What's fascinating to me, there's a little pushback on this film from people going, well, gee, they've created this somehow, this monster character, and somehow that's a slight on all female conductors. Well, that's a testament to how realistic his storytelling technique is. He's not pretending that this is emblematic of all female conductors. That's just him drawing you into this world and making you believe it's really. The next chunk of the screenplay follows these quote rules unquote that he set up in that extraordinary opening, in that we get an introduction to a major character, Francesca, without the normal screenplay tricks that you would see to introduce a major character. So if I were introducing a character who had a past history as a lover with my protagonist, and it's ambiguous, maybe a current interest with the lover, we're not really sure, but at some point there is intimacy between these two characters that is appealed to as this story unrolls. If I had that situation before I'd seen this film, I would have been tempted to write a scene with a lot of dialogue between those two characters that introduced that character Francesca, who is a love interest of the married uh, Lydia Tarr. She's a protege and also a lover whose status is being hidden from Lydia's wife. Um, if I were writing that scene, I would have put together something that said, I should we tell your wife about what we're doing? And oh no, we can't, or some sort of basic, obvious opening to give the audience a really clear sense of who this person is, why they matter, what the relationship is, what's likely to happen going forward. We don't get any of that with the introduction to Francesca. We get a non-verbal scene in which Francesca performs what looks like a well-worn role in a pre-show ritual. This is something she does. She hands the Purell over and on her hands and gets ready to go, and she has this little weird ritual with her breathing or her face or something, and she vanishes when she's been dismissed. That's not how I, before I had seen this film, that's not how I would have introduced a major character, but it is how Todd Field introduces a major character, and it works because we can tell there is something happening, something interesting between these two people, and not a line of dialogue has been spoken. That and remind you that this is a discussion about the iceberg technique, which is adding by subtracting, and how that can compel repeat viewings and readings of a screenplay. We're using amazing screenplay. This is one take Yusuf, not editing any of these, and just posting them when they're ready. Talk to you next time.